this one might be a little controversial. At least looking on what people say on the internet. The third worst Star Wars movie is Force Awakens. It's Force Awakens. It's easily Force Awakens. And I might think it's the third worst, but this is the most frustrating Star Wars movie, in my opinion. Let me explain. I didn't know much about Force Awakens. I didn't watch the trailer. I didn't look anything up. I wasn't following it incessantly online. I didn't really have expectations for the movie. I didn't want to ruin it. I just wanted to watch it. I just wanted to watch the movie with no real preconceived notions other than I was looking forward to watching a Star Wars movie without the creative influence of George Lucas. That might sound like a slam, but it's not. I remember being into the original Clone Wars cartoons, the shorts directed by Gennady Tarkovsky or whatever his name is, who made Dexter's Laboratory and Samurai Jack and all these other things. I did Star Wars role-playing game. I read Star Wars books. I was perfectly fine with a Star Wars story existing without the creative influence of George Lucas. I thought it could have been great. Could have been great. So when I saw the movie and the credits are rolling and I'm sitting there going, did I like that or not? Like, most of the time when you see something or you experience something, you know an opinion of it. You know whether you like it or you didn't like it or whatever. But I was sitting there just very, very conflicted about this freaking movie. I liked all the main new characters. I liked Finn, I liked Rey, I liked Poe, I liked Kylo Ren. Like, I thought those four characters were very good. I liked how they used the old characters. I liked how Leia was the general now and how she was telling it like it was. I liked Han Solo. I liked the fact that they didn't end up together permanently. I liked the fact that Han Solo interacted incredibly well with the new. He kind of was the best part of that movie. Han Solo held that thing together. He had great interactions with all the new characters. He had great interactions with the old characters. I loved how they didn't involve Luke Skywalker at all, and that he was a mystery, and that he was gone, and they saved him for the second movie in the trilogy. I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was brilliant. I didn't like the fact that it was basically episode 4 with a much more interesting movie happening in the background. Like, that was incredibly infuriating. Like, how is the Empire still a thing? What's going on? Like, when it opened up and the Empire was being the Empire, it seemed like they were in charge, and there was a new Emperor, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? You had your second Death Star destroyed, you lost Darth Vader, you lost the Emperor, you lost your other thing. Like, how incompetent is the new galactic whatever republic if, like, the Empire's back? I could not understand how Episode 6 followed into the events of Episode 7. I know there's a lot of time in between there, but, like, how is this still a thing? I feel like when I read a plot summary, it says that, you know, the new whatever came out from the old one, but I'm like, where were they hiding? What was going on? How do they still have these big ships? How do they make an even bigger Death Star? Like, I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get how the Empire is still a thing and how they have all this money to do all this crap. Like, maybe it's because I know a little bit of some of the stories that happened in the books and stuff and the expanded universe and all that stuff, but it just doesn't seem like Episode 6 and Episode 7 necessarily meet. How is the Empire still a thing? Big, big problem for me. I wasn't big on Snoke, and that he was just kind of the Emperor just to have an Emperor, and his resolution in Last Jedi certainly illustrated that point. It's just the same movie. Like, you have some not Tatooine based desert planet with Rey, and you go to the Millennium Falcon and you meet Han Solo, and you go to the Rebels, and I guess that's not quite the same as Episode 4, but and you got to defeat the Death Star, and it's another Death Star run with Poe, and like I hated that part. I hated that it was just basically the same. It was basically a remake. That someone was telling me it was a remake, and I was like, that's kind of accurate. And it was super frustrating that more interesting things were going on while that was happening. Like, I thought Han Solo's death was super needed. I thought that was you needed something to drive that plot and make this trilogy need to exist, because otherwise it just seems like a cash grab and just a retelling of the same story. And there's elements of that that annoy me about Last Jedi too, when it's like it's just hitting the same points because someone thinks you have to hit the same points. I don't know what else to say about Force Awakens. That's basically it. Like there's new things happening which are great, but it's just relying on the same old story elements and stuff like that, and it's just so frustrating. The acting is much better than the movies I think are worse on this list. And that is a big reason why it's not as bad as episode 2 or episode 1. Because let's be honest, if it had as crappy acting in its main characters as it had for those first two, and it didn't do right by its main characters, like it would be horrendous. It would be horrendous. This one, like, let me put it this way: I disliked this one so much that if Rogue One had been bad, I would not have seen Last Jedi. Like, it almost turned me off the series entirely. Like, it felt like a product that had to appeal to so many things. It had to set up these characters. It had to recreate moments from the Star Wars universe for new fans. It had to hit all these different ideas that it didn't create a movie that paid off itself. I suppose if I was into the Death Star destruction again, then that would be a payoff, but it's not, because this is the fourth time we've seen it in episode 4 and episode 6 and episode 1, basically with the droid control ship run. And then again, like, that's what I felt about this movie, that it was a product and didn't pay itself off and didn't translate into a good movie because it was slave to so many masters, and almost it could have been a good movie if it concentrated on what was new and what was fresh and where it was going with Kylo Ren and all these other things. Like, that's why you're going to see Rogue Hope higher on this list. That's why you're going to see Last Jedi higher on this list, because it was a better movie by itself and didn't rely so much on the nostalgia of the same story beats of the first trilogy, like Force Awakens did. Let me know what you think. I know some of you hate Last Jedi, so you probably like this one more. Let me know. Why?